Have you ever wondered why the more comfortably we live, the weaker we become, and the easier we collapse in the face of challenges? That feeling is not yours alone. It is a principle the Stoic philosophy pointed out thousands of years ago. Today's ease is the root of tomorrow's weakness. Before we begin the journey of exploring the profound lessons of Stoicism, leave me a comment sharing your view. Do you think comfort is a reward or a trap? And if you wish to continue along this path, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the philosophies that can change the way you see life. Now, let us turn back the clock and start with what the Stoics observed. From the danger of small excuses to learning to embrace discomfort, mastering emotions, building discipline, respecting time, controlling desire and attention, ending dependence on approval, facing responsibility, and finally living as an example for others. Each stage, each lesson, is a step on the ladder that transforms a fragile person into one who is steadfast and trustworthy. And you, too, can begin that journey starting from this very moment. Principle 1. Don't make excuses. Do you realize that every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you are silently betraying yourself? It may sound harmless, but each small excuse is like a stone thrown against the foundation of discipline. At first, it only creates a tiny crack, but if repeated often enough, the entire structure of your character will begin to waver. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he was not born for comfort, but for labor, thought, and action. Epictetus taught that the outcome is not in our hands, but our response always island. And the very first response we must train is the refusal to make excuses. Excuses delay responsibility, weakening the bond between intention and action. You say you want to change, but then you postpone. You promise to begin, but you wait for a perfect moment. In doing so, you turn goals into empty words, allowing the habit of waiting to take control. One who lives by the Stoic spirit breaks this cycle through honesty with oneself. They dare to name their fear, their laziness, or their false justifications. They do not wait for motivation, nor for perfect conditions. When the time comes, they act. When duty calls, they begin. Try applying this today. Write down the moments when you choose ease over difficulty. Each time you want to say, "I'll try," or "later," replace it with a concrete action immediately. Practice acting in imperfect conditions. That is how you train the muscles of your mind. Because strength is not born from convenience. It is born from the decision to act in the most inconvenient moments. Each time you overcome an excuse, you send yourself a clear message. I act according to principle, not according to mood. And then, little by little, you will become a different person. No longer arguing with yourself every morning, no longer depending on external motivation to start. You become the most reliable person to yourself. That is the first step to stop being fragile. That is the foundation upon which you build a disciplined, steady, and orderly life. Principle 2. Embrace discomfort. Ask yourself this: if tomorrow all comforts disappeared, would you still be strong enough to stand firm? Comfort may seem like a reward, but in truth, it is a slow erosion. It dulls vigilance, weakens urgency, and makes both body and mind fragile. The Stoics saw the danger in this softness thousands of years ago. They chose to step into hardship instead of waiting for it to arrive. Seneca once advised his students to occasionally sleep on the ground, wear rough clothing, and eat the simplest of meals. Marcus Aurelius also reminded himself that luxury weakens the soul. They did not pursue extreme asceticism, but rather familiarity with discomfort. For once you are accustomed to difficulty, you no longer fear it. Today, you don't need to sleep on the floor or wear tattered clothes, but you can deliberately create small inconveniences to train yourself. Wake up an hour earlier than usual. Eat a very simple meal, no spices, no fuss. Walk instead of driving whenever possible. Complete a task in one focused session instead of breaking it into delays. Each of these actions may seem trivial at first glance, but repeated, they gradually train your nervous system and your spirit to stop depending on comfort. You begin to understand, even without perfect conditions, you can still move forward. The Stoics viewed hardship as an exercise. Each time you grow familiar with a small inconvenience, you are training endurance, cultivating calm, and building a deep conviction. I can keep going, even when it is not easy. And the time will come when life truly tests you. You will not panic or lose your balance. You will have been trained. You will be ready. And instead of complaining, you will look at hardship and smile, because you know this is your chance to grow stronger. Principle 3. Control your emotions. Think back. How many times in your life have you allowed anger, fear, or impatience to make decisions for you? Emotions are an inevitable part of being human, but letting them lead is like driving with your eyes closed. Sooner or later, you will crash. The Stoics did not deny emotions. They acknowledged them, observed them, but refused to let them cloud their reason. Marcus Aurelius compared the ideal mind to a fortress. Chaos may rage outside, but inside must remain calm. When surrounded by war, illness, or betrayal, he reminded himself to return to reason, not to react impulsively, not to let fear or anger shatter clarity. So, how can we train this ability to control? Create a pause. When emotions rise, stop for a moment and take a deep breath. That small pause is the strongest weapon to separate feeling from action. Write it down. When angry, anxious, or craving something, put it into words. Writing allows you to view emotions as an object rather than being swept away by them. Question them. Ask yourself, where does this emotion come from? Does it truly reflect reality, or is it just a habitual reaction? The Stoics saw emotions as signals, not commands. Anger can signal that a boundary is being crossed. Fear may point to where you need better preparation. Desire may remind you to re-examine your priorities. Once you observe them, emotions become teachers rather than masters. One who controls emotions is not cold or numb. They still feel fully, but their response is a choice, not a reflex. They don't make situations worse. They remain calm to find solutions. And that calm presence creates a quiet strength that draws others to trust and rely on them in moments of chaos. This is why mastering emotions is not only about personal strength, but also about building credibility, presence, and trust from those around you. Principle 4. Build discipline through routine. Do you truly have a system, or are you simply waiting for inspiration to begin? Strength is not born from luck or sudden bursts of emotion. It is created through repeated actions every single day, whether you feel like it or not. The Stoics understood this well. Habits are the foundation of character. What you do consistently is what you ultimately become. Epictetus reminded his students that living by principles is much like training in sports. An athlete doesn't train only when inspired. They train regularly because it is part of who they are. For the Stoics, discipline is the same. It is not a mood-based choice, but a standard of living you set for yourself. Start with small and simple things. Wake up at the same time every day. Spend 5 minutes each morning writing or reading a short passage on the philosophy you follow. End your day by reviewing what you did and what could be improved. Do not underestimate these small acts. When maintained consistently, they create rhythm for your entire life. Repeated habits replace hesitation. You no longer waste time debating whether to act, because action has already become your reflex. Discipline is not harsh confinement. It is like a skeleton that keeps you upright. It helps you scatter less, waste less energy on trivial decisions, and instead devote yourself fully to what truly matters. When discipline becomes habit, you will feel lighter, not heavier. You no longer live with guilt from procrastination. You no longer feel drained by repeated small decisions. You know what needs to be done, and you do it. And over time, others will begin to notice. They will see the stability in the way you work, the way you keep your word, and the way you start your days. Their trust in you will grow, not because of fancy words, but because of your consistency in action. That is the true power of discipline. It needs no display, no show. It is steady, quiet, yet it lays the solid foundation that allows you to go further than anyone else. Principle 5. Respect time. Do you protect your precious time the way you protect your money or your possessions? We often lock our doors to safeguard our homes, hold tightly to our wallets to safeguard our money. Yet with time, the one thing that, once lost, can never be regained, we often waste it. Seneca once warned, "People are frugal in guarding their property, but wasteful in guarding their time, though it is the one thing it is right to be stingy about. Every moment that passes cannot be returned. An hour lost scrolling meaninglessly online, a day wasted in procrastination that is a portion of your life traded away, never to be reclaimed." The Stoics regarded wasting time as a moral failure because it not only steals your opportunities but also distances you from the person you aspire to become. Ask yourself, is what you are doing today truly worthwhile? Does it bring you closer to your goals, or is it just false motion busyness without effectiveness? To live as a Stoic, you must train the habit of managing time with absolute respect. Guard your mornings for your most important work. Don't let them be consumed by trivial messages or meaningless emails. Use your evenings to reflect and learn from what you did during the day. Set clear boundaries. Do not let requests, invitations, or distractions pull you away from your core priorities. When you respect time, you begin to feel the true value of each moment. You stop procrastinating, you begin acting, and you see real results instead of the illusion of busyness. Respecting time also builds in you a strong inner conviction that your life is not ruled by circumstances or by other people, but guided by you. And this is what enables you to live with focus, with direction, and with fewer regrets. For in the end, the greatest possession you have is not money, not fame. It is the time you are given to live true to your values. Principle 6. Tame your desires. Are you truly living by your own values, or are you merely chasing the desires that are advertised and suggested to you every day? Desire is the gateway to insecurity. The more you crave, the easier you lose balance. The Stoics saw this cycle clearly. Desire, short-term satisfaction; dependency, long-term suffering. Seneca once wrote that the person who needs the least is the richest. Every small indulgence becomes another chain of attachment. In modern society, desire comes not only from instinct but is constantly being fed. Advertisements, social media, trends. Every day, hundreds of voices urge you to buy more, consume more, experience more. If you are not mindful, you will be controlled by these impulses without even realizing it. The Stoics chose a different path: reduction, not prohibition. They observed desire and asked, is this truly necessary, or is it merely habit, imitation, or a passing urge. You can train yourself in simple ways. Occasionally, eat a very plain meal, not out of lack, but as a reminder that satisfaction does not require luxury. Practice fasting not only with food, but with comforts. Less time on social media, less consumption of instant entertainment, less seeking of recognition. When desire arises, don't rush to follow it. Pause, take a breath, and ask, if I don't give in, what's the worst that could happen? Each time you say no to a temptation, you are strengthening reason over instinct. You learn to enjoy inner freedom, freedom from the pull of advertising, from the pressure of the crowd, from dependence on fleeting pleasures. Taming desire does not mean rejecting joy. It means joy comes from wise choice, not blind reflex. And only when you master desire can you truly master your life. For when you no longer need to satisfy every craving, you can devote your time, energy, and focus to what is truly important and enduring. Principle 7. Master your attention. Be honest. What controls you more, yourself or the phone in your hand? Attention is the foundation of self-mastery. Wherever you place your attention, that is where your energy and actions will flow. But in today's world, everything is designed to steal your attention. Endless notifications, infinite short videos, constant streams of information. The result is that you are always busy, but rarely truly focused. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, return to the present, to the task right before you. Do not let imagination drag you into the past or anxiety about the future. It was this act of returning that allowed him to stay steady, even while bearing the weight of an empire in crisis. You can begin restoring your attention with small steps. Set aside times in the day to turn off your phone and disconnect. Fix specific windows to check messages or social media, instead of letting them dictate to you. When reading, read slowly. When writing, write without breaking it up with screen taps. The Stoics did not scold themselves when they got distracted. They simply brought their attention back, gently. Like training a muscle, every time you bring your attention back, you make it a little stronger. And when your attention becomes steady, your mind becomes calm. You stop chasing the noise outside and begin to control the flow within. That focus brings a peace no app, no compliment, no notification can ever grant you. For in the end, mastering your attention is the same as mastering yourself. Principle 8. End dependency on approval. How would you live if, starting tomorrow, no one praised or judged you anymore? We often fail to realize how strongly we are controlled by the approval of others. A word of praise can lift you, while a word of criticism can crush you. When you let your emotions depend on the eyes around you, you are unknowingly handing over the keys of your life for others to hold. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, praise does not make a good action better, nor does blame make it worse. A right action remains right, whether or not anyone applauds it. The Stoics saw the pursuit of approval as chasing a shadow. The more you try to grasp it, the farther it slips away. So how do you break free from this chain? Act first, speak later. Don't rush to announce your intentions. Act, and let the results speak for themselves. Listen, but don't depend. Accept feedback as data, not as a verdict. Set your compass inward. Be clear about your values, what is right for you, and why you choose it. The Stoics did not reject praise, but they did not live for it. They did not reject criticism, but they did not let it define them. The standard they pursued did not come from the crowd, but from the alignment between thought and action. And the paradox is this: when you stop seeking recognition, you actually become more trustworthy in the eyes of others, because then everything you do comes from principle, not from a craving for applause. Freeing yourself from dependence on approval is the way to live steadfastly, firmly, and truly free. Principle 9. Face responsibility head-on. How many tasks are you postponing simply because you are afraid of taking responsibility? Responsibility is like a shadow. The more you avoid it, the larger and heavier it grows, until it becomes a burden that crushes you. The Stoics understood this well. Responsibility does not disappear when you ignore it. It only accumulates, and the longer you delay, the higher the price you will pay. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that time waits for no one, and hesitation is a form of self-betrayal. Life passes whether you act or not. Therefore, procrastination is never a solution. Start with the smallest things. Wake up on time, as you promised yourself. Complete your work instead of pushing it to tomorrow. Respond to the messages and minor duties you usually avoid. Speak the truth, even when it makes you uncomfortable. Each time you face and handle responsibility, you are training yourself with a stronger nervous system and a more steadfast will. At first, it may feel unpleasant, but gradually, you realize responsibility is no longer a burden. It becomes a tool for tempering yourself. The Stoics did not wait for perfect conditions to act. They began with what was at hand, addressing what was right in front of them. This very habit made them reliable, the ones others turned to in times of uncertainty. And then, responsibility ceases to be mere obligation. It becomes an opportunity to grow, to affirm your own value. When you take initiative, you are no longer dragged by circumstances. You begin to lead your own life. Responsibility is the measure of maturity, and the sooner you confront it, the sooner you step into a life of order, direction, and trustworthiness. Principle 10. Live as an example. What do others learn from the way you live each day? Words may echo for a moment, but actions leave a lasting mark. The Stoics understood that true value does not lie in how much you preach, but in how you actually live. Their lives themselves were the most convincing proof of the philosophy they followed. You cannot speak of strength if you constantly surrender to weakness. You cannot preach discipline if your own life is in disorder. Consistency between word and deed is the core of building credibility. And when you fail, be honest in acknowledging it, make adjustments, and continue forward. The Stoics did not excuse themselves, they improved. The way you keep your promises, the way you finish your work, the way you face difficulties in silence, all of these become lessons for those around you. They do not need your explanations, they see your actions, and that consistency plants trust and inspires naturally. Living as an example does not mean being perfect. It means being steadfast in principle, repeating the right actions again and again, even when no one is watching. That is how you create lasting influence, not through promises, but through the repetition of deeds. And one day you will realize your presence itself is the message. Others see your steadiness and find trust in it. You don't need to argue to prove yourself, because your life already speaks on your behalf. That is the pinnacle of practicing in the Stoic spirit, turning values into actions, turning actions into habits, and turning habits into a life worth following. The Stoic journey is never an easy path. It demands that you dare to stop making excuses, dare to embrace discomfort, dare to face emotions, desires, distractions, and even responsibilities. Yet precisely through this, you build a solid inner system, a foundation no circumstance can shake. Remember, you only have one life, and each passing day is a day that will never return. Time is the most precious asset you possess. Money can be earned again, opportunities can be found again, but lost time can never be replaced. And when you waste it on procrastination, on fleeting comfort, or on dependence upon the opinions of others, you are trading away your very life. The Stoics did not live to please the world. They lived to remain true to their principles. They did not squander time on meaningless things, but devoted it to what truly mattered. And this is also a reminder for you today. Begin living more responsibly with yourself. Guard your time the way you would guard what is most precious. Do not wait for a perfect day to begin. In this very moment, you can set a new standard for yourself. A standard built on discipline, clarity, and responsibility, so that when you look back, you can take pride in knowing you did not waste your life. If these words resonate with you, leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe, not only to continue receiving lessons on Stoicism, but also as a reminder to yourself that today you chose to live more responsibly with yourself and with your time.